Brothers, I want to expose to you to the pattern that God gave me when I was preparing in 2015 to give a campaign in a church there in New York, there in Bayshore. The Lord called my attention to the great controversy in chapter 1. And I want with all my heart to exhort everyone to make this chapter the center of your study for several days so that we realize many things and can see the pattern that I'm going to outline for you now quickly. But for you to draw your conclusions, your extracts, and see, look for the historical facts of also what I'm going to mention so that we realize that as God said in the Great Controversy chapter 1, this of Jerusalem was to have double fulfillment. So it is very important to realize all the details that are there, that I'm not going to include them in this recording so as not to make it very extensive. But I'm going to give you a quick count. There, in AD 67, they were at the Feast of Tabernacles. You know that all the people came to Jerusalem, and they were there from Judea, from different places, because this Feast of Tabernacles, which was celebrated for 7 days, was a feast where all the Christians attended. Then God had declared many years before that they should be pending for a sign. When the Roman banner was in a place where it should not be, then flee to the mountains. There you will see how God explains all this in great details. So while all these people, all these Christians were there in the year 67, suddenly the troops of Cestius Gallus arrived. The Roman banner was nailed. It says that several stadiums from the city. They did not go to Jerusalem to knock on the door and say, now this is Roman territory, you belong to us. No. They stayed several stadiums from distance. There was the army commanded by Cestius Gallus, and everyone there quietly was doing what they had to do, which was to be there surrounding the city. It is not specified how long they were there. This is not specified by the great controversy, a real time that they were there. But if it says that they, the Jews, were about to surrender, by this we assume that they stayed for a considerable time. So when they were about to do this, for some reason, God allowed, right? We already know that due to civil situations and problems, they, the Romans, had to go back. So they raised their tents, their camps, their army, and began to walk in the opposite direction to Jerusalem. As soon as this happened, 3 types of thoughts also arose within Jerusalem. And they are the 3 types of thoughts that I want us to analyze today to see if the same happens with us. The first type of thinking that arose was, this is the sign that God gave us so many years ago that we have spoken about, the escape which we have to be aware of for everyone to leave. So it is time to leave, and we have to look for the moment that the Lord gives us to leave, and it is now. The second type of thinking said, this is the sign. If it is what God gave for a long time, what we had been waiting for, but let's see what happens. Let's stay a little longer to see what happens, because this is the most prominent economic moment. People from different places, they make their preparations here from what we have in Jerusalem for the Feast of Tabernacles, etc., etc. And we are going to see what happens. We are not leaving yet. And the third type of thinking, because there were leaders whom, when they saw then that the army of Cestius Gallus turned their back on Jerusalem, they said, this is the city of God. God has liberated it. We go after them in a sign that nobody interferes with the city of God and with the children of God. And they came out after this army. Their army came out after the army of Cestius Gallus, and they killed many soldiers of this general Cestius Gallus from his troop. So we see these three types of thinking, and we're going to bring it to these days because it is very important. Everything was written for us to realize of today. Then after all this happened, because a pattern has already been formed, there is already a pattern. And God said, the same sign that I gave to Jerusalem will be repeated. It is the same, and it will be repeated again. So we have September 23rd, September 22nd to 23rd, 2015, where we saw that the Pope arrived in Philadelphia, USA from North America. There, in the City Hall, where the Independence Act was signed, where Philadelphia was for a time the capital of the United States of America, there this character arrives and begins to wave the flag of the Vatican in the middle of the flags of the United States. So we know, right? And we all know that the Pope was given power for 15 years worldwide, and he begins this command under an invitation where he opens the door of mercy. We all know that. We can do the search on the internet and we can look when all this is done. The environmental encyclical also begins. This begins to take more height. And if we look in the middle of the environmental encyclical, we see there how the Sunday law is embodied, because God revealed to the Sister Ellen G. White that the first time the Sunday law, when there were the brothers Wagner and Jones and all these pioneers of the past, the Sunday law came open. Everything was being talked about Sunday law all over the place. But at that moment, since it was not yet the moment, because the people rejected the message of justification by faith that was given in 1888, then God allowed this to stop. These pioneers went, spoke. Then, thanks to the Lord, it stopped at that time because the people were not ready. They had rejected the message of justification by faith. God said that when this happened again, it would come behind the curtain. And the curtain, beloved brothers, is here. And the Sunday law is already embedded in the environmental encyclical. So I urge you to do a search on the internet and begin to see all these things, because the events are passing in front and we are not realizing it. So all this from 2015 to here, we see that a pattern begins where at the end of 2016, the door of mercy closes, and there are also many civil wars in different places. But at the same time, as with an economic boom, giving the appearance that something is right, but is also wrong elsewhere. At the end of 2017, we now have the truth that the end of Protestantism has come. The world ecumenical situation has wanted to put an end to this. So we know what is behind all this, because really those who are protesting are those who are Sabbath keepers, because all other religions are in some way are worshiping on Sunday or any other day. So we know that those who really protest are those who keep the Lord's Sabbath. So we also see there how now there are situations of large taxes, as in Jerusalem, fights for political, religious power worldwide. So we're seeing the same pattern that is being fulfilled. Now, in 2018, since we already know the truth that what was missing was the end of Protestantism, the union of the political with the religious, and we all know that what comes after is the imminent Sunday law. So, that is why the Lord is calling us, and He is exerting us to get out quickly and prepare, because, beloved brothers, God has left us so much light, so that we can inquire, so that we search, so that we know where we have our feet. But for some reason, in the tasks and in the hectic and in the problems of life, the enemy has robbed us of the time that we should have taken to understand these things. When the Lord called my attention to this, and I was in this place, in this campaign where I told you at the beginning, I could vaguely understand these things because it was beginning to fulfill this pattern, and I did not understand it very well. But already today, we are in 2018, January 5th, 2018. Today, I am making this recording. I realize that God does not fail and that everything is written for our benefit and for our salvation, especially because the Lord does not want any of us to suffer. So please, I wholeheartedly urge you to read the Great Controversy, chapter 1. Take it in the light of the history of the past. Josephus talks a lot about the history, what happened in Jerusalem, and let's bring it to our days today so that we realize it. With this, beloved brothers, I want to reiterate how I say it in all the times that I explain this. I am not setting the date of the coming of Jesus, because that nobody knows. That is already written. But yes, from the events we know that our Lord is at the doors. So I leave this assignment to you, beloved brothers, and I hope, with the Lord's help, that we can realize that our redemption is closer than we sometimes think, and that we must get on account with God. This is not getting on account with the family. This is not getting in agreement with the church if the church is wrong. No. This is getting right with God, because God is the only one who is going to save. Churches do not save us. Individuals do not save us. Family does not save us. No matter how much we love them, no one can save anyone. Salvation is individual. So I exhort you, beloved brothers, to search for ourselves, because the truth is for he who wants to seek it. May the Lord bless you.